those other ones. Most of the buses in our fleet are these foremost buses. But we're in our Kodiak today, so we got nice comfortable seats for you and a reverse camera for me. It's awesome. The other ones don't have that quite yet. They're a bit older models. So.
How long?
And this one goes faster.
How long have you been driving this one?
Well, we have 4 Kodiaks in our fleet, so we kind of alternate. But this is my first season working here at the ice field with Brewster. So I got here at the end of March to start training, and we started our tours mid-April. So I don't even know how long it's been now. I guess 4 months or so. Time has gone by so quickly out here. Has anyone been to visit before?
No.
No one. And where's everybody from in this group?
Yeah, Florida.
Okay, awesome. Everybody's from the States? Yeah, okay, sweet. Well, welcome to the Columbia Ice Field. I'm taking you out to the Athabasca Glacier. This is my first trip today, so not really sure what the weather has in store for us out there. We will find out. Yesterday was very nice though. We have the sun shining finally. It's been about a month straight of rain out here. So we didn't see the sun for quite a long time. I was losing faith that it really was summer here at all, but yeah, you did. Good job. You brought it up from Florida. They're probably used to a little bit of warmer summer weather, most of you, I'm sure. Yeah. So we do hover around, I guess, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, usually not much warmer than that out on the ice. And we have very cold winds that are often blowing, katabatic winds. So we can see snow here year-round. Drivers before, in the month of August, have been driving in whiteout snowstorms. So that's not unusual, especially when you get even up into the higher alpine ecozone. So here we're about 7,000 feet above sea level. We are pretty high up. The air, it's a bit thinner, a little bit cooler as well. So this is why we don't have too much vegetation around us. You can see a little barren. And we also don't have too many animals that we see out here on our tours. Occasionally small things. We have marmots that run around, ground squirrels, kikas as well. Mostly in terms of larger animals, we sometimes see bighorn sheep out here, which is always pretty cool. They are very specially adapted to do well in this rocky terrain, so they're quite interesting to see. So keep your eyes open, you never know. But if we go back in time to when this whole area was forming, hundreds of millions of years ago, everything that you can see around you would have at that point in time been completely underwater. And we had this very vast ocean. It covered most of the planet. And we know there was an ocean here because we can find fossils. And I've seen them. I've been out hiking up on the very tops of the mountains around here. You can find trilobites, different marine plants that were around. They are very interesting to see. With this vast ocean, we had a supercontinent that had sediments breaking off, settling on the ocean floor. These layers got very heavy and compressed to form the bedrock of the mountains. All this bedrock was pushed upwards by a couple of tectonic plates to form a high valley that was slowly over time eroded away by different things. Wind and rain have played a large role, but predominantly in this area we have glaciers that have just done so much to really shape this landscape. And there's the Athabasca Glacier dead ahead of us. So we're heading out there to the center of the ice. Now this glacier, it is always moving. It's slowly creeping downhill. It has a lot of force and power to it as it moves. It pushes along all this dirt and rock that lies in its path and will dump it into big piles that we call moraines. Now we are driving on top of the lateral moraine, so this marks the side extent of the glacier. And did your shuttle driver, Jess, did she point out to the terminal moraine by the center there? Yes. Perfect. So it tells us a lot about how the glacier once would have looked, the terminal moraine marking its extent, and from the lateral moraine where we are driving, we can tell it would have risen as high as we are right now. So pretty massive difference to where it sits today, shrunken down in the valley below us. And we are going to drive down the moraine to get to the ice. Woohoo! We are going right down this steep hill. Oh yes.
You didn't tell us it was a roller coaster.
Surprise! All right, so before we head down here, really important that everyone make sure they have their seatbelts on. If you want to reach down beside you, grab those, get them fastened up, and we will get going.
Seatbelts where? Where?
Yeah, there's no seatbelt. Just kidding. Sorry. That's you. My favorite part. Yeah. All right, let's go. So this is one of the steepest unpaved roads in all of North America. Sits at a 34% grade. But have no fear because these buses were built to handle up to 36%. So
Oh, we're 2% low.
we're good. Yeah, you get tons of room to play.
We got all sorts of room to play. You got it?
I'm trying, I swear. My foot is still on the gas pedal.
Just got it in the right gear, that's all.
That's it. We coast down here. These buses, they make it super easy to get down these steep slopes. The massive tires do most of the work. There's very low air pressure in them. It's about half that of a normal car. We throw on our front wheel drive, and we have a sweet little engine retarder that keeps us going nice and slow. So all in all, it is not too tough to get down here. And those tires, being so massive and important, cost about $5,000 a piece. They are pricey, and I have a pretty bad track record this season as well. 2 flat tires already.
Oh.
Bad days at work. Although luckily, I don't have to change them, so it's not the worst thing.
No, you gotta pay for it.
Yeah. I'm working for free the rest of the summer.
Yeah, you are.
Actually, a lot of summer. All in all, though, the cost of one of these machines sits at about $1.3 million. And that's Canadian pricing. Although our Kodiak was built down in the States, the foremost, the other model that I mentioned to you, those were built in Calgary, Alberta.
Tires were built in Canada.
Yes. We have 22 of these buses here at the Columbia Icefield, and there is only one elsewhere down in the Antarctic. They have one of these buses that they use to shuttle scientists and their equipment to and from the McMurdo Research Station down there.
The top speed.
These ones can go, it's 24 kilometers per hour. So what does that make it into miles? Like 6?
There you go.
Is it 6, 7? 7 miles per hour almost? The other ones only go about 4 miles per hour. So this one a little bit quicker, but I mean we don't have to get anywhere too fast, so it's not too bad. So just up ahead of us here, although it looks like the same old dirt road we have been driving on, this is what we call the ice core moraine. So we have had all this dirt and rock come tumbling off the mountainside, and it will coat the glacial ice. And it doesn't have to be too thick for it to actually insulate the ice that is underneath. So you can see we are quite a bit higher up than the exposed snow and ice to our left-hand side. And this is just because of that reason. It melts much, much slower. We can see some of this ice starting to poke through just up ahead here on the left-hand side of the bus, where this debris has slid off the steep slope.
Fighting like that. So where's this water coming from? From the melt?
Yeah, so the water up ahead, that's the meltwaters that flow off the glacier. From up here we can kind of see a lot of these rivers that flow down. We have melting happening all around on the glacier as well as back on the ice field. And we have just sort of diverted some of this meltwater to this small puddle up ahead. We're driving through here, all this dirt and mud getting on our tires. So we go through our little Brewster tire wash up ahead to give them a quick rinse before we get out there onto the ice. And we just see a ton of variation in terms of how much water is flowing off of this glacier every day. Nice sunny day like today, especially when we get into the later afternoon. We will just see a lot of meltwater. This is already quite a bit, but some days it's just astonishing how much water is melting off of this thing. The reason why we rinse our tires off before we get out here is because we don't want to bring too much of that dirt or mud out here onto the glacier. Looking around, you may be able to see all this dirt that has settled on top of the snow, on top of the ice, and it will melt much quicker. It's just like wearing dark clothing on a hot summer's day. You're attracting more of the sun's heat to you. This is the albedo effect. It happens out here on the glacier as well. So the white snow and ice reflects more of the sun's rays. So we just don't want to bring too much dirt, mud out onto here because it would increase the rate of melt. So with this glacier constantly getting smaller year to year, we have updated measurements done every couple years because it's quite an extensive project to get out here, especially when you're drilling down to get the depth of the glacier. But it sits at about 3 miles long and just over half a mile wide. And the depth of the ice at the turnaround point was right over 800 feet. This was last year. So a little less than that this year around. We usually see about 30 feet in terms of the depth loss per year. It's a pretty large glacier, but it pales in comparison to the size of the Columbia ice field. So the ice field sits back beyond the horizon. You'd have to get up on top of one of these mountains around here if you wanted to get a good view of it. We're just a little too low down in elevation here. But it is quite large. It stretches back into British Columbia. And being up higher, you have almost all precipitation that falls there fall in the form of snow, and then begin the slow process of transforming into glacial ice. And then it is pulled out through these glaciers as they flow downhill. So you can think of it like a giant lake that has these rivers that flow out of it. It's a similar sort of setup. Of course, everything is frozen, but now driving up our ice road here, we don't have too far to go to get to our turnaround point where you'll be able to hop off the bus. But before we get there, we can see a couple other glaciers off the left-hand side of the bus, sitting a little higher up on the mountainside. Immediately beside us, that one closer to us is called Double A Glacier. And we call it that. It's an unofficial name. It really hasn't been given one, but it sits in between Mount Athabasca to the left of it, and then you have Mount Andromeda to the right of it, that cloud-covered peak there. And that is Andromeda Glacier. So these two, they're both independent alpine hanging glaciers, not part of the Columbia ice field. They once would have reached down the mountainsides and fed into the Athabasca, been tributary glaciers, but over time, as we see them all slowly receding away from one another, they became completely disconnected.
Why did you scrape the road?
The road? Because it gets very bumpy, a lot of potholes with these giant buses driving over it, and when the sun is beating down and melting things, we have a lot of really large holes that will form on the road, so we have our grader come through and they kind of smooth it out for us to drive on. Also, some days it gets a little icy if the weather is like sunny, and then you have the cold winds freezing it again. So he grades it up to give us better traction as well, both here and at the turnaround point. He's pretty constantly going out here, especially as the day carries on. When you come out here and do a tour at like 5 p.m., you're just flying out of your seats. It gets so bumpy. This is a good time of day to come visit. It's quiet up here. All right, so we are just about out. You'll be able to get off the bus here, have a walk around. So we just have a little area set up for you up here where we know it's nice and safe for you to be. So please just make sure you kind of stay within this little perimeter of our turnaround point. Now we are bus number 530. We're going to be hopping on the same bus to get back to the turnaround point. So we're the all-white one, the Kodiak bus. Yeah, you can leave your stuff on the bus. That's no problem. I'll leave the door open and the steps down, so you can get back on whenever you are ready to do so. Otherwise, our departure time from here is 11:45.
Depending on the qualification.
So mind your step when you're walking around out there. It's usually not